strong potentials for sponsors
Oh,
that we are following through with, and I'm thinking, within the next couple of weeks, we should know, what if we're going to have enough sponsorship money to come in to not just pay the deposit on the place, the venue for the conference, but have enough money to pay for the whole thing. Because no matter how many people we might have come to it, we will owe the whole amount. So
yes.
I don't want to risk not having enough people sign up to come to it,
It's
And
actually better just step back and get the sponsorship. You're right.
yeah, it just, Gertrude, it just makes sense to me that that's what we should do rather than risking, signing on for signing some contract for thousands and thousands of dollars and then maybe not having enough attendance to cover it.
Cover it. It's so true. It's interesting because after the the conference in Las Vegas, we created a global steering committee,
Uh-huh.
hoping that I would have a few of the chairs on the call, but I'm recording this so that everybody can be pulled up to date as to what our next steps are going to be. I see Maria is on the call. Maria, hey.
Yes, I'm on the call. Yes, I just chimed in.
Good. You're finally home?
Yes, I'm finally home.
Okay, awesome. So I want to just run through, the lessons learned from Las Vegas and how we are going to be going forward with each conference step by step. And what you've just said, Rosalind, is very pivotal in that there was a lot of lessons learned from what happened in Las Vegas, and especially around sponsorship and just making sure that everything is covered, because the last thing we want is to end up with a huge bill. You don't have enough people who've come to attend the conference, and then it becomes an issue. So
Yes.
you remember Deborah Martin? Deborah was at the reception desk during the conference.
Okay, I'm sure. Yes, yes.
You might have had some interactions with Deborah here and there. So Deborah
Yes.
kind of stepped in to get our systems in place. So we really implement each and every single conference in the same way, systematically. So we make sure there aren't anything missed out, any little loopholes that somebody could potentially fall into without knowing. So we start
Yes.
off by just documenting what we do, step by step for everything. And I'll just have a quick run through of that. Because we're going to now go back to all of the chairs and see where everybody's at in terms of these steps. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the chairpersons are concerned, when somebody steps up to say, I would love to be a chair, we're now needing to really take a look at the skill set of each individual person and make sure that it's going to be a match. Event planning can be a nightmare. There's so many things that can go wrong. And it's a lot of time commitment as well, especially in our first year, to pull off each conference. And especially
Yes, there is.
when are not being paid. I mean, we're not in a position to promise anyone any money. When I look at what happened in Las Vegas, I am literally down by, I would say, almost 15K.
Oh.
We don't want that to happen. I don't want that to fall on anyone. So people think that we're making a lot of money from the conference already. We're not. There's a lot of teething problems, and those contracts, like you said, that we sign bind you to X number of people for X number of days. If you don't get those people, they still want to get their money.
That's right.
So this is what we've come up with. And Deborah will start contacting every chairperson step by step and seeing where everybody's at and just making sure that we don't fall into the same pit that we fell into with Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So step number one, for the chairpersons, of course, we would have sent through your audition video, your bio, and then we have a conversation, and we are going to be interviewing every single chairperson to see if there is a perfect match. The chair or potential chair will then get the chairperson's kit, which you have to read. One of the things that I have found is people got the kit, never really read it, didn't come back with any questions, and I made this assumption that they had, and they hadn't. I mean, I'm still getting questions from people that are very, very basic, which really shows that people haven't read what the expectation and requirement is. And it is a working document that will evolve and change with time. But we need to go through the chairperson's kit and make sure that everybody gets it. And then once we agree that it's a match and we're going to go ahead, the NDA is signed and the non-compete agreement is signed. We then have to create the budget. Like now you are probably at that point where you have a clear idea of how much it's going to cost all up. You know, your venue cost, the food, marketing, the promoting, etc. We need to put a budget in place and then look at signing off that budget and getting your team in place. We'll then set up your Facebook group, your planning team. Like you found what happened with me with Las Vegas is there was no team on the ground, and trying to get things done remotely from New Zealand just didn't work. The beautiful thing is that in Las Vegas, we've now created a skeleton team. So if we go back next year with another conference, we have a really good select group of people who have kind of put their hand up. Edie O'Reilly will be heading Las Vegas going forwards. And so we've taken a step back. We're supposed to have a conference in Las Vegas again, but we've decided to rather give ourselves 6 months to a year to plan the next one in Las Vegas. And Edie is going to be heading Las Vegas going forwards. So the team is crucial to get other minds on boards, dish out some of the responsibility to other people, and make sure that the team is working. The chairperson will then be confirmed. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What I was going to ask, Gertrude, is for those of us who have been already working on it for months, do we still have to go through all of these things?
No. Deborah's
just is for someone new coming on?
Someone new coming on, and Deborah will double back to each of you and talk through the process. Make sure that we have the documents, because a lot of stuff was emailed, the filing system wasn't good, a lot of things slipped through the cracks. It's the same thing that happened with Mimi in Las Vegas and New York. She never signed the contract. I assumed she had because we were talking, we were planning the conference every single day, and then she pulled out at the last minute. And then I found that she never signed the contract. So we didn't have a leg to stand on legally with Mimi. And, you know, she went and she created that conference, which would have gone against our non-compete agreement. And the non-compete agreement is not saying don't do your own thing. It's just saying, please don't steal our database. She took half of our speakers. Don't create something that is similar to ours. We could have thousands of conferences and all succeed. But I think it's just respectful not to go and replicate what somebody else has started and steal their database. It's one of the biggest crimes, especially amongst women right now, is people jump on board, they see something good, and they decide they want to run with it, and then walk away with your database. We put time and effort in marketing and connecting with all of those women, and we lost half of the database. So it's things like that that we want to just double back and go back to and make sure that it doesn't happen again. So Deborah is going to be responsible for that, just catching up with each chairperson, making sure we have everything signed and everybody knows what the expectations are. The next thing would be,
Okay, I sent you my contract months ago.
yeah, I'm not saying you didn't. I'm talking in general because I'm recording this call for
Yeah,
people who aren't on the call.
okay. But so even though you got my contract, she'll still be contacting me and wanting that from me?
She's going to be helping because the problem that's happening now is I'm one person and I have hundreds of chairs wanting my attention. And then people are coming back and saying, we're not getting any communication, we're not contacting. So I've built a team. There's actually 5 people who are going to be helping me going forwards to communicate and liaise with everyone so that if I'm not available, you have somebody else to get back to. But what Deborah's responsibility is to help put your systems in place. Make sure that you have the spreadsheets that need to be filled out with information so we know exactly what's happening in every single location and the data is kept centrally. So she's putting systems in place which will eventually be accessible through our website, where all of the chairs will have a portal to go into and just upload information that's required going forwards. But we'll be using a spreadsheet to kick us off to collect all the data. Make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, data about like where it's going to be held, the budget, are those the things you're talking about?
Let me finish talking and walk you through the process, and then we can go into detail. I'm just giving the steps that every chairperson goes through at the moment. So after the chairperson is confirmed, they then get access to the database. We start putting your team together. We start looking for your volunteers. You select what date is feasible. You select the venue and then confirm the venue, sign off documents, the deposit is paid, then the conference is announced. Then you have to obtain the insurance, look for sponsors. So this is where the conversation we had just started having just now in terms of when do we, announce that everything is done. Again, like I said, the spreadsheet is a working document. We might have to shift things around, that we only announce the conference once we have secured sponsorship, like you were saying, so that we're not announcing an event and there's no sponsorship, then we don't have enough people and we end up owing money to whatever organization we've signed a contract to get the conference off the ground. The other thing that came up, since I got back, I tried to connect with several chairpersons. I put out for anybody to contact me one-on-one if they couldn't make any of the group meetings. I have talked to a few people, but the fiscal sponsorship has come up as, who do we contact and how do we qualify our fiscal sponsors? And the qualification of this fiscal sponsors, I'll just pull out some notes that Dorothy and I were talking about. We have to be very careful who we're dealing with, because you could end up with a nonprofit that hasn't had its accounts audited. We don't really know how they operate, and then we start channeling money through them and find ourselves in trouble in terms of what happens to those funds. Does that make sense? So one of the qualifying questions and suggestions from Dorothy was that the fiscal sponsor has to be in existence for at least 2 to 3 years. The people charged with receipting the accounts receivable and the accounts payable, they have to be different or unrelated to the nonprofit. Because we had a few people who have offered to be fiscal sponsors, but they're very small nonprofits where the person who created the nonprofit is kind of the person who does everything. So having a non-related accounts and receivable personnel for that nonprofit will help put a distance between the person who initiated it and the person who isn't. Dorothy also gave us a link, and you might be aware of this organization, Rosalind, being in the States. It's called a Charity Navigator. It's a website.
I've never heard.
You've never heard of it? Apparently, it's a website where you can put in the name of the charity or the charity number, and you get all this kind of information about the nonprofit. So you make sure that whatever organization you're dealing with has got the credibility, has got all of these things that we require before we work with them. So that was just something that was brought up around fiscal sponsorship, because Dorothy had talked to, I think, 2 or 3 potential fiscal sponsors that haven't worked out. Once we've obtained the fiscal sponsorship, then you look for your local charity that the conference is going to be supporting. You confirm what that charity is going to be. If you're in a position to support an offshore charity, then you could choose another project, but that's not compulsory. You might just stick to one in your local jurisdiction. Then the marketing team is set up, the logos, all of the marketing material that you need. We're going to try and collate collateral that can be used by all of the conferences as well. So we standardize the message that's going out. We standardize the press release so that we protect the brand integrity of the organization. And then, yeah, it's an 8-step process that we have documented since Las Vegas. And we'll be sharing that with all the chairs, taking you through step by step and how to fill it in so that we have one central database for every single location and the information is consistent and the same. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody who's not on the call. And I'm glad you're on the call, Rosalind, so we can find out what's happening on your side and the way we're going to be moving forwards for Florida. And I know, Maria, you've got some feedback as well to share with everybody with regards to Zimbabwe and how we're going to use Zimbabwe's blueprint to support the conferences in the developing world where we're struggling with getting money for venues, where there's people who want to come to the conference but can't afford to even attend, and things like that. So Rosalind, give us an update of where you're at, and then we'll go on to Maria and just brainstorm a few ideas.
Okay, well, I mean, you already know most of this, but since it's being recorded, I'll just go ahead and share it, that I've been involved with this, you know, for several months now, 5 or 6 months. Initially, I was focused on finding a venue so we could secure a date, you know, with a venue. I have the venue where I would like to have it in mind, but when the contract came, and I've got a fiscal agent, a long-standing, highly respected community foundation in South Florida. So there's no question about their legitimacy and you know, dependability with this. And they have acted as fiscal agents for other organizations throughout the years. So there's no concern on that end with us. I was able to get a little bit of sponsorship fund in, enough to pay the deposit for the venue back in like May or June. But when the contract came out from the venue, it required also that the event insurance be in place before they would accept the contract. And then I started contacting insurance agencies and underwriters. I contacted 10 or 12 of them. None of them would provide the special event insurance required, not even give me a quote, until we were no more, the furthest out someone would do that was 6 months out from our target date. So now we're kind of in a catch-22. We can't have a specific target date until a contract is signed, but if we are going to use that venue, we can't have the contract signed until we've got the insurance in place. So when I started looking at that, that's when I said, oh, I started talking to some other potential venues, and that's when I started realizing, wait a minute, every place wants a commitment, as you just said, Gertrude. Every place wants a commitment to X amount of people or X amount of money. The primary place that I'm looking at where I'd like to have it doesn't require a certain amount of people to come because they don't charge by the person. The food, the catering is a separate contract. They just provide the location, but no matter how many people come, it would be the same cost for the location. So that's another reason I would like to have it there, because I don't have to commit to X number of people in, and that X amount of food, dollars for the food that will be catered to them.
Yes.
So, but now, even though, I could secure the venue for a lot less than some place where you have to pay, per person for the food in order to use the space. Even though that's the case, I don't want to commit us to a contract for this amount, even though it's only about $10,000. Well, plus with the insurance that's due that I have to pay for.
Yes.
Going into it, it's going to be, possibly 13 to 15,000, and we've only got about 5,000 of that in. That's when I just said, wait a minute, let's stop, reorganize, and start focusing on getting sponsors in. Now, here's the thing, though, to get sponsors in, we have to have places for them to be able to check us out, so we give them the local or the global website, of course, but we're also putting together like MailChimp to, be able to send out emails to local sponsors and potential sponsors and that sort of thing.
Can I say on the emails? And we're going to create Her Story emails for all the chairs as well, because that was the other thing that people are emailing out, from their personal emails. It doesn't look very official. So we are generating or creating your name at herstorycircle.com. So that when
good. Okay. That'll be helpful.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've started, luckily, many of us know people with organizations that might be interested in being sponsors, so we can approach them on our personal contact basis and explain that we're in startup mode and, try to get them to contribute to, the startup phase of, the South Florida Her Story.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been accepted by, some organization. They haven't. Some have said, "Oh, there's not. You have no record. You can't guarantee how many people will be reached by this. So no, we're not interested." But others have said, "Oh, startup, yeah, you need help. We understand." And so they're at least considering us for it, and willing to talk with us about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the emphasis right now, and the goal is to get the funding in to secure the venue and the event insurance by the end of October at the very latest, or otherwise we have to reevaluate whether this is a tenable thing to go forward with.
I think that's wise. That's really wise. You'd rather slow down to speed up than rush into it, and then when you're halfway there, realize, oops, we should have waited, or we could have postponed, or there's other things
That's right.
put in place. And I'm really glad to hear that. That's awesome. I think you're going down the right way. Vegas had
Thank you.
a lot of lessons that we all learned. Yeah, a lot of lessons were learned there. That's awesome. Yeah, so all we're doing with Deborah's help is just putting these steps in place so that we don't miss anything out. This
Right.
needs to be done, and if we don't do it in a systematic way, we really want to create a, like how McDonald's set itself up. They have a system that this is how we do business, and everybody has to go through step by step and just fill in that detail. Then we make sure we haven't slipped up on anything and end up with a lot of stress. And because a lot of people don't realize how bad a state I was in after Las Vegas. That's why you haven't seen me online.
Mm.
That's why you haven't seen me active these last few days. I have not been well, and I don't want this on anyone. Like I said, the whole reason why I created the conference was to get support. But it's in building that team. And when there isn't a team, it doesn't work. So that's awesome. Now, Maria, I know you are back from Zimbabwe. You still on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so fill us in quickly with what you've managed to do and how you're seeing things unfolding, because what you created there is something we can create in Kenya, in Tanzania, in South Africa.
Yes, and Rosalind, it's good to see you. And
Thank
just to
you.
preempt, we love the fact that you're still on board. And you know what? You're doing great. And I'll re-emphasize again, hope and trust that we can still use some of the steps that you've used for South Florida. Those can also be taken into cognizance as proposals or suggestions as we tailor make the blueprint of the actual what will be the fiscal step by step process. Because I know I've been on a call with you when Gertrude was away, and I've been following very closely. I'm the kind of person who like watches everybody how they're doing without filtering into your spaces too much. So definitely, I've said this before. I think it's something that we should take into account the way Rosalind and her team are working. Gertrude, maybe we can also take some of these steps and tailor make them into the model as we create the actual model.
Yeah,
Just putting it out there.
It's a working thing. We're co-creating it as
Mm-hmm.
we go. Everybody's inputs, everybody's insights we need, because we're seeing it from different perspectives. So what's working, let's share that, let's use it. What's not working, we discard. It's a working process,
Yes.
document until we have a system that's really robust, where we've caught all the loopholes, everything that can go wrong. We need to preempt and have that in
Yeah.
Right. I have another idea, ladies. I'm sorry, Maria, were you going to say something?
No. I was gonna say something after you put in what you chime in. That's okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, what occurred to me a few minutes ago was, we're talking about sponsorships, local organization, local foundations or corporations providing local sponsorships. I think we should put together an effort to go after international corporations that would be interested in potentially sponsoring all of the, the global effort, so that, so that funding would come in to go internationally that could help each organization locally too. Because there are, a lot of international organizations that would potentially be interested, like Coca-Cola, like, if we started brainstorming, I'm sure we could come up with a laundry list of them.
I actually was going to share something at the end of the call that has come up along those lines. I'm likely to be in Silicon Valley in beginning of November. But let's Maria finish, because there is a global organization that has approached me that I've heard about her story, who've invited me to come to Silicon Valley to meet social impact investors. So,
Excellent.
yeah, I'll be going there to get funding for the global organization. But Maria, finish, and then I will finish with this. I'm glad you brought it up, Rosalind, because that's how we should
Okay.
talk and how we can filter that down.
Yeah, definitely that would work, especially for the developing economies. That would definitely work. And just to preempt my visit back to the continent, and as I did say that uh, whilst we are having a working document that works for, I would rather loosely use the term developed communities or countries demographically, those that are sort of better economically than others. So Africa is an example. I'm taking it collectively because the economies are not exactly as friendly. They're actually very volatile. So having to put up a conference of this magnitude, where without help significantly, means it won't come up. That's what it really means. So we are going back again to what Rosalind, what Gertrude you've been saying. The key question is, of course, sponsorship, having a team. And one of the biggest things that for Zimbabwe right now is that I did manage to meet with women that in the interim, I'm going to use that word loosely, interim, because until they have, this week is when we confirm their willingness to come on board. I left them with the kits so that they could read what the expectations of the conference and what our vision was, and understand fully what it takes, being volunteer driven. Because once they get that full understanding, then they will be able to come on board knowing what is expected of them, their roles, the duties that they will be partaking, and what it means for a team that they are going to build, so that this conference can be as effective and make an impact as we would want it to be. Because I noticed, like Gertrude put out there, sometimes we get the information and we don't get to read it. So what happens is, because I've not read it, I will sign up for something and then I get overwhelmed. And in the process of it all, guess what? We think, oh, Zimbabwe is set. We are using it as an example. Then, boom, they walk away. So we are having to restart again. So I chose that approach to say, please read on it, understand it fully, what is expected. Then we'll come back on the drawing board, and then on when we meet on this one is for you to then confirm to me to say yes, we are on board, or no, we are not on board. That was the first thing, so that we get a working team that is going to be effective, because they would have read and understood what the expectations are and what the conference entails. From there, we are hoping to start building on the volunteer database, because we notice without volunteers, you cannot have an effective team. So they already, when we put out that fact of volunteers, the women were already bubbling with a lot of names and who could come on board. So we are still going to go step by step, like you put it, Gertrude. We already established a venue for Zimbabwe. We just need to work on the logistics, the technical part of it, where what is expected. If they are giving us, we are patronizing their location, and this is what we are also going. It's a give and take. That's how I'm looking at this. If I'm bringing in 500 people to your location, it means we are patronizing, we are giving you business. So I'm hoping also with Kim Austin, that when we finalize the technicalities regarding the contracts of the venue and so on, she'll also take that into cognizance, that we will be patronizing her for 2 days I'm sure looking at the status of things back home should be most welcome to give us that. I'm being hopeful. You know, I'm going to trade like on a hotel instance where if I bring them 500 people, they might give me the venue for free. I'm hoping. There's nothing wrong with hoping, but I'm sure we should be able to come up with an amicable agreement that will then make us confirm our venue in full. Because like we said, tentatively, it's a done deal, but we just need to now work on those loose ends to tighten the bolts to make sure that everybody is on board. Our venue is confirmed, then we'll work on the date. Like I already highlighted to you, March is projected to have a lot of events, especially in North America per se. We've got the Canada conference, and we should have the Dallas one going. So we have quite a lot of conferences within North America in March.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Zimbabwe will push it for May.
And that's a better time in Zimbabwe as well. The weather is good. It's not too hot.
Yes, it's not too cold. And June, it's a bit nasty in the sense that it will be getting to be winter. Whilst for North America and the other parts of the world, it will be summertime. But for Africa, it will be winter time. So we are hoping May is perfect, and we're also hoping that we'll be able to woo fellow African speakers and also international speakers to bring to the stage. Because like we said, we are hoping the Zimbabwe conference is pivotal in that it is going to be a template for the rest of Africa demographically, and can also be used for those developing economies. Once we sort of have everything going, with that example, we'll be able to learn from there, build more for those that will be able to take a bigger capacity. Like we said to you, the proposal is we'll have the conference in the main capital in Harare. Then, like you and I, one of the things we promised was to bring something back home. And because whilst the central location of Kwekwe is perfect, but in the perfect world, because of the ailing economic situation right now, this is our reality. We are hoping to still give something to the women, making a Hair Story Fest, one-day event, where we have 10 speakers who will be there to motivate women. It will be an open event. It's almost like a market day, you call it that, where women will showcase their products, where companies which are run by women for women will also showcase. And we have women speakers who will be there to inspire women, motivate them, and also create networks. So we are hoping that we will capture almost every genre in terms of, let's say, music. You can still have the ability to tell your story through music. Some are gifted that way. Through storytelling, like we are hoping, this is the concept of our vision. And also we are hoping through dance. So we're trying to really bring in the women from all walks of life through that one-day open concept event, which we will reference as Hair Story Fest. And that will be our gift from the global aspect to say, we know, we understand you could not afford to pay this much for this 2-day conference, but we are bringing it to the central location of the country where people can still easily access to come to Kwekwe and be able to showcase and be able to feel to be part of her story, though it will be given in over one day in an open event where it will be subsidized. We still give them the actual impact that we would have created in Harare, but it's over one day. There'll be, hopefully we can still showcase a few workshops. Women will have the ability to attend a workshop. They'll also be in a position to network. They'll be in a position to shop around where we can discover some women who are creating baskets or beading, etc. And this is their time to showcase and network with women from all other angles. Pretty much we're saying the corporate women, women from different organizations, they get to meet on that one day on an open concept. Okay. So that's what our gift will be They, after the conference, we'll take it to Midlands for 1 day event. And like we put it out there to you, suggestion of a gala, open hair story gala, can also be held as a fundraising mode. Whatever we get from the proceeds we get from the gala, we can always channel. It's just a suggestion. That's how we are planning the Zimbabwe one. That way we don't miss out other locations. That's why we say the 1 day open one. It's an outdoor, and we have speakers, women come in to showcase, network, attend workshops, but it's all done over 1 day, from 10 a.m. projected to 7 p.m. at night.
Okay, no, that's great. So the
Mhm.
outcome of, despite the fact that we had so many things go wrong in Las Vegas, it did produce some amazing content. And now what we did in Las Vegas is getting picked up. And I just wanted to share this with everybody who came. Las Vegas sparked something. When I got back to New Zealand, I had to have a meeting with the Ministry of Tourism, who are helping with the funding of our social media and marketing budget. And so I gave them feedback in terms of what had happened, what went wrong, what worked, what didn't. But what has been the result of the work so far? Rosalind, I don't know if you met Jerry. Jerry came from California, the elderly lady who had 73 grandchildren.
I think I did.
You
Yeah.
remember her. So Jerry and I connected, and I was talking to her about the need for sanitary pads for girls in Zimbabwe. And she's already involved with a church organization who make reusable sanitary pads. They sew these kits. So when she went back to California, she went crazy. She gave us some kits that Maria took to Zimbabwe and distributed to the girls already.
Wonderful.
And now she's on a mission to create 8,000. So she's been sending me videos, the people who are getting involved, the testimonials, and how she moved them by meeting us. So as an example of the social impact we already had with this small conference, that's one. The other example is that the conference bags. So when I went to Zimbabwe last time, I met up with one of the key women who's working with Maria. And the idea of creating our swag bags, having them being made by women and creating like a sewing cooperative where a group of women get together and make the swag bags. We just received the first 100 bags for the Wellington conference. And Letwin, Maria, in case I didn't bring you up to scratch, is going to be facilitating and helping getting the swag bags made in Zimbabwe. So in sharing all this with the Ministry of Tourism, the last piece was in Poland. The day after my wedding, I gave away all of my flowers. We broke up all of my bouquets and made small little bouquets that were taken to the local women's hospice where women were dying of cancer. We took them to the main hospital, to the maternity ward, women who just had babies or were in hospital because of complications. This little town where we had the wedding was very small, but the story, it was like a ripple effect. It went out throughout the community, and the millionaire who owns the castle heard about it and asked to meet me. So we ended up meeting with him, having dinner with him. He was so impressed because his organization has gone out in a very good way in this community. I mean, they were just flowers that we gave away, right? But it's all coming back to him. So he got so many people contacting him. And they have about 150 weddings at this venue every year, and they throw away the flowers. So they're going to continue and start giving away these flowers to the hospitals.
Lovely.
And agreed to sponsor our first European conference is going to be in our wedding venue, and he's paying for everything, food, the venue. He has 6 other castles throughout Europe. He's German. He's got castles in Germany, in Austria. So I started telling all of these little stories to the Department of Tourism, and they're the ones who put me onto this organization. I've just shared this link, and I'm going to share my screen and show you what we're going to get on a global level in terms of support when I come to
Silicon Valley is the birthplace and home of cutting-edge industries, personal computers, GPU, smartphones, self-driving cars, modern electric vehicles, ride-hailing, search engines, e-commerce, electronic payments, social media, semiconductors. Globalize Accelerator helps innovators, investors, and entrepreneurs make the very first step in setting foot on the ground in this global innovation hub.
I've been invited to be a speaker and a participant in the Globalize Accelerator program, and it's amazing. These are the most highly curated group of qualified people you can imagine. It's like the United Nations, and you're going to meet people that you never envisioned before.
Globalize runs executive acceleration programs. Out of hundreds of applicants, we select the best 20 people and work with them over a 60-hour week to accelerate their connections to Silicon Valley executives, technology entrepreneurs, investors, and thought leaders.
What you and your team have done is you've essentially compressed what probably would have taken somebody like me 5 years, if it was even possible, and compressed it down into 5 days.
Here's how we're different from traditional executive education programs. We provide you an opportunity to build a new network focusing on the people who are right for your business. We help you scout for new technologies, business models, and disruptive ideas. And we teach you the things they don't cover at business school.
You're probably curious who decides on the agenda. And you know what? It's actually you.
Each day of our program starts early in the morning with briefings led by Silicon Valley experts and thought leaders. In the afternoons, we meet corporate executives and entrepreneurs. Each cohort's meeting schedule is unique and designed with participants' interests in mind.
Thanks to this program, to Globalize, I was able to also meet very interesting people, very smart people, also to go inside the companies to see what is happening in the ground.
In the evenings, we attend pitch events, dinners with best-selling authors, and local meetups. These events immerse our participants in the real atmosphere of Silicon Valley and expand their network beyond the program agenda.
Here, I think it's easier to talk to people. It's easier to get what you want. Making connections, you can just go ahead to an investor and start a chat with them or with her, and that's really cool.
In each cohort of 20 participants, there are leaders from at least 10 countries. You will have a designated spot to present your business, your ideas, or just share your passions.
Hi, my name is June Lai. I'm the founder and CEO of Catalyst.
At Globalize Accelerator, our mission is to help world-changing leaders go global. If you believe this is the right program for you, apply now and let's accelerate your journey into Silicon Valley.
So I've been invited to be one of the participants. It's first week of November. I'll be coming to Silicon Valley, and I'm going to be in the room with the people who are responsible for the social impact projects of these big corporations. You get to pitch your idea. So the Department of Tourism in New Zealand have actually come on board to help me put together my pitch documentation, the big picture of what her story is about. You know, ideas around how can we support women in disadvantaged communities get access to the world through the use of their cell phones. I hadn't talked to a lot of you about the vision that I had, but in Zimbabwe, for example, we are a country that doesn't have a currency. You can't get access to physical banknotes because we don't have a strong currency at the moment. And people are using US dollars. But one of the ways around it is everybody can get access to a cell phone and get paid through their cell phone. You can go and buy your groceries using your cell phone. You can do everything. But if we could get women exposure to international markets in terms of selling their products, their goods, we could create something really magical. So the basis of her story is to create a foundation where all of the money that is generated through the conference, as it scales and it gets bigger, goes into a huge fund where we can then be able to help women in different parts of the world. I really want to build her story to a point where every single chairperson who comes on board actually gets a salary, so that it's not, like I said in the beginning, everybody who stepped in year one is paying with your sweat equity to be part of something really big. And I think we can scale this and make this a really amazing organization. And the fact that Department of Tourism have seen where this can go and are wanting to support me to get into this Global Accelerator program is just, I'm excited. We've just scratched the surface. We've had the teething problems, but the potential of what we're creating is huge. And people are seeing that, and people want to get behind it. So fingers crossed, I'll be one of those 20 selected for Silicon Valley. My TED Talk will probably go up online, the second one that I did in New York. And that's going to help feed into everything that we're doing with her story as well, and what her story actually stands for. So I thank all of you who have hung in there through thick and thin, the team that got behind me in Las Vegas to help Las Vegas take off, the people who sponsored at the last minute. Thank you for everything you did. And I apologize for things gone wrong. Right now, I am still trying to chase Trey and his team with regards to your videos and your photos. I know there's a young woman who reached out to everybody saying she's taken over editing the videos. She said this week, so fingers crossed. If not, I'm just going to have to get the physical files back and get someone here in New Zealand to do the edits for us. I think what became was that when he was filming, we didn't have time codes, who was on what tape. So he has hundreds of hours of tape because he filmed everyone. And now he's trying to pull out, and he doesn't do the editing. Somebody else is doing the editing. So it slowed everything down. And the first person he paid to do it walked away with all the money and didn't do anything. I don't reach out to you, Rosalind.
Pardon?
Anybody reach out to you? Did you get a message from a young woman via email?
Yes, she said that they would have mine to me last week, and they didn't. But what I don't understand, because what we were told we were paying for was just the full video of our presentation and then a 2-minute edited part. Why can't just a full video of our presentation be sent to us at least?
Yeah,
and then if they want to keep on working on the 2-minute editing part of it, fine. But
what I think has happened is everything is jumbled on one tape. He was putting the videos in and out of the cameras, the 3 cameras we had. He didn't mark who was on what tape. So this young woman is having to go through tape by tape, looking for those people who had paid. That's what she explained to me has been the thing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and people don't. I'm trying to explain this to people that it's not that the material isn't there; it's there, but it's finding where you are on the tapes.
From 3 different cameras instead of just one camera that has the full video of you. Exactly. Got it. Now I understand why they would be editing the full presentation, because tried to get it from different angles, depending upon what you're saying and what you're doing. Okay, that makes sense to me. Thank you for explaining that.
That's been the mission.
Okay.
And again, it's a learning that, in future when we are recording, that he needs to have a chart and making note on tape number 1. I had Roslyn, I had Gertrude, I had Maria, so that when it comes to the editing stage, he's documented that. But
Yeah, right. You can go into it and yeah.
so
I'm sorry. Back to what you were talking about in terms of global, or what we both had sort of were approached, and then you shared the Global Accelerator. That's very exciting. I have a contact here that's with a finance corporation that is international. So I will speak with him about, and try to find out who we should talk to internationally to see. Not only I'm going to be talking to him about his company, the local part of it, helping to sponsor the South Florida conference, but I'm sure he will be happy to give me the introduction to possibly the global, the international organization. I think they're out of France. And so if I get that, I will share that with you, Gertrude. Of course I will, yeah. And I also have been in contact with one from Microsoft, that they work just locally, but if I can get through the door to Microsoft, I'll let you know too. And, because they're international too.
Microsoft is international. Yeah, I think as we tap into all of these big organizations where we can share, let's just share those contacts. I am actually friends with the CEO of Yum Brands, and Yum Brands is Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut, which is global. So Greg Creed is Australian. I interviewed him for the Huffington Post, and we became really good friends. I could literally just call him from the airport and go and hang out with him for coffee. But he's just been promoted. When I met him, he was the CEO of Taco Bell, but now he's heading leadership. So I've
wonderful.
I've told him I'm coming to this Global Accelerator program, and he's in Dallas. So hopefully I'll see Dorothy while I'm there, and maybe what's the other young lady in Dallas?
Sylvia
in Texas.
Houston,
yeah. I think if we were to get a brand like that, again, it's a matter of us getting these global hard hitters. And so the last thing I wanted to share is I'm trying to get all of our chairs to come to the Wellington conference in November. And I'll tell you why. An idea came up that we need to have a retreat before or after the conference. I was thinking before, maybe 2 days before the conference. I found a beautiful little retreat place. It holds about 20 to 30 people. And we can have a nice, intimate time where we brainstorm, we workshop, we discuss all of the issues related to the chairs, but we're in the same physical space. Now,
I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that, Gertrude. I'm sorry, I've already made plans to be away for a week or 10 days in November, and I need to work the rest of the month.
Okay, no, that's all right. I'm just letting everybody who's going to listen to this recording know. And in getting funding to come, I am approaching all of the embassies for the different foreign countries to see if they could sponsor the flights. So if anybody is interested, if you're available to be here, the conference is 28, 29. So if we did 26, 27 as a retreat, let me know. The sooner the better, so we can start approaching the foreign embassies that are in New Zealand and see if we can get your tickets sponsored to come to New Zealand. And we'll try and see if we can get sponsored accommodation as well. I've got a few people here in Wellington who are in the hotel business who could comp some hotels for us. But as far as the retreat venue is concerned, it's really nice. And it'll be a good place for all of the chairs to meet, to share, to plan, and do a workshop before we have our conference. So I'm just putting that out there, getting me as soon as you can, so I know which embassies to reach out to. I'm getting support from the mayor's office to reach the embassies. So just let me know if you can make it. And Rosalind, if you can't, whoever you feel is probably the second in line with who you're working with in your team, find out if there's somebody in your planning team who could come and represent Florida. Let's get one person from each region to be here and to meet the rest of the team. I think it would be a really valuable
I'll mention it to my team when we meet next Monday.
Especially if I can get the flight sponsored, at least it might be worthwhile.
Okay.
I hope you can sponsor mine.
Yeah, no, I'll work on it. So
okay.
Maria, are you representing? Are you Canadian or American? Which?
Darling, Canadian, Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go to the Canadian embassy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to the Canadian embassy because...
Yeah, because I think the Zimbabwe one is broke.
We're looking at flights out of LA. If you could get yourself to Los Angeles, we saw a return flight for like $1,000 return. Los Angeles, Wellington. So if I could get $10,000 to sponsor that, then I could bring at least 10 to 20 people in. I think it will be easy. But just let me know so I can start approaching the right embassies.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, I was just about to say we could end, but if there's anything else, let's bring that to the table before we end our meeting.
A couple of things that have occurred to me while we've been speaking about potential global sponsors. One is the United Nations and or World Health Organization. I wonder if they might, especially if you could get maybe the mayor to put you in touch with the New Zealand ambassador to the UN or something.
Mm-hmm.
They might be able to launch something like that would, because some of the topics being covered would fit within the World Health Organization because we're covering health and wellness, within the United Nations because we're covering women and leadership, So that would be a thing to consider. Also, it occurred to me, maybe we should start thinking about some of the international airlines. And the one that popped up for me is American Airlines, not because they're American Airlines, but because they have a program that helps sponsor women in the film industry.
Okay.
And so that might be a way to also get some international attention, like if we could get an airline, the UN or World Health Organization. I'll talk to this financial group here and see what they might be able to put me in touch with. And then what you're going to do in Silicon Valley, those are some that would be a powerful core that could launch this like, whoa.
It will definitely explode if we have the right partners in place.
Yes, it will.
For New Zealand UN Women. I'll get in touch with her. I have a card actually that somebody gave me just last week because we were also thinking about the United Nations and how we can align ourselves with that. And also just create a panel that can go to the UN annual summit on the status of women and children. It happens in March every year. I've done it twice before, but now I'm thinking if all of our chairs would get together and we create our own panel to go and present in the United Nations next year in March.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
That could really influence them to support us too.
Yep, it's normally first week of March.
First week, I'm actually documenting that.
Yeah, because that again, just to get her story in the United Nations and to present at that summit would be powerful. So I'm going to
count me in.
Got this woman's card to get the step-by-step what I need to do for us to get into to go in with our own panel for the sessions that they have in March. So thank you, everybody. I will try and have another meeting tomorrow because it's on the calendar in case, somebody else might want to pop in and catch up. It would be at 2 p.m. my time. So it's 12 o'clock now. So 2 hours from now. What time have you got there, Rosalind?
That would make it approximately 9 p.m. here in Eastern.
9 Eastern p.m. Pacific. Okay.
That would make it 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try and have another meeting very similar tomorrow. Feel free to pop in. There might be some things that have come up, things you've forgotten. If you have the time, join us. But thank you for being on the call.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Maria.
Let's create some magic. Nice seeing you again.
Nice
Everybody,
to hear you.
You bet.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.